The world didn't end as we saw the first total eclipse of the sun in many of our lifetimes, although there were a few of them that went back. They skipped over our area entirely. But we'll talk about what's happening with that, how people felt about it, and how many people reported that their eyes hurt suddenly after the eclipse was finished. In other news, Donald Trump makes his statement about abortion, and Democrats try again to get out in front of it and make it sound like he's looking for a full-out ban, and Senator Lindsey Graham does not help him one little bit. We'll talk about what's happening with that, where we go with that, and what is happening over that. Speaking of Donald Trump, in a direct challenge to the Democratic fundraiser in New York City that was a star-studded event, Donald Trump replies by making double that during a Palm Beach fundraiser. So we'll go over what happened with that, where we go there, and what we do with that. And California attempts to shut down its lower class structure of living by implementing a $20 minimum wage. And instead of everybody getting $20 an hour all of a sudden, more and more people got laid off. It is going to be all of this and more. So strap yourselves in, grab some friends, get a snack, because we'll be on it for the next couple hours, going over plenty of stuff that we have to go over here tonight. And turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit nervous that the best of all the years has gone by. Turn around. Every now and then, I get a little bit terrified, and then I see the look in your eyes. Yes, your eyes, audience. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. It has been a week, definitely. And as you will see when we turn around, I know the Mogwai. Actually, I found out today somebody, because I've never seen that movie. Shocker, I know. I've never seen that movie. One of my coworkers brought up the Gremlins movie because of Gremlins in her truck and pronounced it as Mogwai. I didn't know I was supposed to be pronouncing it that way. I've been saying the Mogwai since, well, the Mogwai started joining us on stream. Never knew I was pronouncing it wrong either. So, well, sorry for that. It's probably going to keep going too, just out of habit. So there is that. But yeah, we've had a lot. It's been a busy week. For those of you who are not keeping up on the Final Fantasy X saga that's been going on, I know that I've been saying this since like January, but we're like 2 episodes away from the end. I finally got through enough side quests that we could go and take on the Overdrive Sin is what they call it. I finally got through enough of that to get through there, and well, we're in the end game. It's there. It might be 3, but I think it's going to be 2. It's going to take me, because I think by next week we're going to be able to get up to Sin, and then the week after is going to be a really short one. Because like if we get up to that battle, I am not going to go through with it on one stream, just in case it sits and takes forever. So that's coming. As I promised afterwards, my next game would be one character of Diablo 2, so we'll be taking one character from beginning to end, and that's a pretty short game. It's got fairly infinite replayability based on the way that it was done and structured, so we'll be able to get through that in probably a few weeks, and with that I might actually do a little bit more depending on how our news structure goes. And In the meantime, while we're doing Diablo 2, I'll be experimenting with the capture card and the new console that just showed up here because I have a Switch now. So as promised, we are going to skip BioShock and go right into Mario RPG Remake. Will be our penultimate game next. We will continue to do Fallout Fridays on Friday, unless there's very popular demand, and then we will go back and do Mario RPG for both days, which I would not be opposed to. It's one of my favorite video games ever. So that is coming up on the gaming side of this, but we are on the news side tonight, and there is plenty of that to go on as well. So we're going to get into it. We are going to get started. Make sure you guys chat if you see something that you want to comment on, which I see Dual Helix and the Mogwai are doing already. The Mogwai has marked himself safe from the total eclipse of the heart. Or, I'm sorry, he's not safe from the total eclipse of the heart. Of course, because that is what I used to introduce the show today. So we've got that. We've got Dual Helix over on the Rumble side keeping up. And the more you guys chat, the more we get promoted up to the front screen and the more we get advertised. So if you are just lurking right now, feel free to come back in and say something. I very much encourage that, and I know Helix will come back out and try to tell you to hit the like button, which I also appreciate as well. If you guys could do that, that would be fantastic. And let's get down to it. I swore and I promised I would not be the YouTuber. And now the Rumbler and the content creator that says, like, subscribe, comment, touch my bells and buttons, things like that. I hope that you guys would do it the same, but occasionally we've got to come back in and remind you, if you like what you see, help me out, help a guy out. And the thing that you can do, especially with live streaming, the most important thing that you can do for any live streamer that you watch is to chat in their chat. Chat, 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 chat. I want to hear every dirty detail and every dirty thought that you guys have in the midst of this here, because once again, it promotes me up to the front. And Mogwai says, say anything, say something, anything. Smash that like button. It gives Edgar a funny feeling. Smash that like button. All right, we're going to stop being cringe now and go and be cringe in a completely different way, actually. Getting into, we're going to talk about the solar eclipse to start. So let's do this. All right, starting with the Associated Press with just some highlights of the eclipse. We're not going to go too far and too deep into this here, but we'll look at a couple of them here. Solar Eclipse 2024, highlights and key moments from the Associated Press. A total solar eclipse crossed North America on Monday, slicing a diagonal line from southwest to the northeast, briefly plunging communities in Mexico, the US, and Canada along the track into darkness. I, unfortunately, did not get to see any of the solar eclipse because a warm weather system rolled from Minnesota over into Wisconsin at about 10 o'clock yesterday morning and gave us cloud cover. Right up until the eclipse was finished, and then all of a sudden the clouds broke, the heavens rang out, and we could see the sun again, but by then all the fun stuff was over. So, but it was nice and warm today, so that definitely was helpful. Alright, let's look at some of what we have going on here. When's the next solar eclipse? No author given from the Associated Press. Full solar eclipses occur every year or two or three, but they're often in places where almost no one can see them over the Pacific Ocean or Antarctica. The next total solar eclipse in 2026 will grace the northern fringes of Greenland, Iceland, and Spain, and other sweeps across northern Africa in 2027. North America won't experience totality again until 2033, but only in Alaska. And that's it until 2044, when totality will be confined to Western Canada, Montana, and North Dakota. The next big one for the US is in 2045. That one will stretch from Northern California all the way to Cape Canaveral. It's interesting that they can come up and chart these things out 21 years in advance, but that will be the next time we see a big one that covers large swaths of the country. Here's how zoo animals react to the total solar eclipse. A researcher observing animals at Fort Worth Zoo during the totality said some seemed extra vigilant. That included a rambunctious young male gorilla that stood on a pole while being quite active. Oh crap, it's Harambe too! No! Take the rifles away. We are not doing this shit again. Most animals remain relatively calm during totality, and many move to where they are put away for the evening. In general, everyone was really well adjusted. No one was doing sort of bonkers behavior, said Adam Harstone Rose, a researcher from North Carolina State University who came with a team to Texas for the eclipse. He said in past eclipses, giraffes galloped. This time the giraffes gathered more, but weren't stressed out. Question, what should I do with my eclipse glasses now? Eye safety experts say you can reuse eclipse glasses for another solar spectacle as long as they aren't warped and don't have scratches or holes. Legitimate glasses should block out UV light from the sun and nearly all visible light. Eye damage can occur without proper protection. Symptoms of solar eye damage, called solar retinopathy, include blurred vision and color distortion. And then, of course, after the eclipse comes the traffic. Traffic is slow in some places that experience today's eclipse. Interstate 65 in southern Indiana is moving here very slowly as people make their way back from eclipse viewing. Meanwhile, traffic near Paducah came to a crawl as thousands of people crossed the Ohio River. Drivers going eastbound and down on I-24 were traveling at speeds of 15 miles an hour or less just after 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The story is similar in upstate New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire. Interstates 87, 89, 91, and 93 all have slowdowns in their southbound lanes. And there is a bit of reason for that, of course. A lot of people were abstaining from driving during the midst of it because they were out in a park somewhere with goofy-looking glasses, looking up and saying, wow. But with that being said, and with that being pointed out, a lot of fleets, especially in areas that were going to be under totality, did ground their heavy trucks for insurance reasons and for driver safety reasons, of course, given the fact that looking into the eclipse would cause retinopathy, as they pointed out, and the fact that, I mean, especially if you're going towards the sun, north, south, otherwise, well, not north, but south, or at the time it would have been southwest, you would have been staring just about basically into it while you were driving along. And, well, if you're stupid enough to do it in your passenger car, that's one thing. You'll probably hurt yourself and maybe take out another. But when you've got a 80,000-pound battering ram and you go blind in the middle of the road, even temporarily, you're going to cause a few problems. So about the time the eclipse was finished, a lot of these people the truckers were coming out of their truck stop trying to get their hours back. The cars that did heed the warning or were trying to get back in, try to get back home, or the people were coming from the park because, well, it's just like any other time you leave a major urban area. After a fireworks show, you're going to be crawling at about 5 miles an hour, so we have that going on. But yes, those were our highlights from the Associated Press for Eclipse 2024. The Mogwai says there are counties in Alabama that are still in total darkness. Can I just say I hate the freaking word totality? Okay. I don't know if I can now read that or not. Whatever, we'll give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? They ban me? They do that all the time. I keep coming back. Okay, hear me out. What if we shoot another gorilla to fix the Twilight Zone levels of fuckery? I don't know if that's how that works. Were these drivers loaded down in trucking? Well, they were stopped for a little while, apparently. From CNBC, Eclipse flights swarm airports. We had to close the runway to park planes. From Leslie Josephs. Monday's eclipse is giving some of the country's smaller airports their moment in the sun. The Federal Aviation Admin reported arriving flights at airports from Burlington, Vermont to southern Illinois were briefly halted Monday morning ahead of the total eclipse. Yeah, they were briefly halted in totality, actually. Such disruptions are routinely caused by bad weather and heavy traffic in big city hubs, but high demand for prime viewers of the phenomenon Phenomenon jammed some smaller airports on Monday. The best views of the solar eclipse in the U.S. span from Texas through Illinois, Kentucky, and Ohio to northwestern New York and Maine, according to NASA. Phenomenon! FAA traffic adjustments give airports time to catch up and avoid airplane parking jams on the ground. We had to close the runway to park planes, Alyssa Connell, head of the operations at Southern Illinois Airport in Murfreesboro, Illinois, told CNBC. The airport, which has 3 runways, took reservations for Eclipse flights and on Friday reached its maximum threshold for 230 small prop aircraft and about 45 larger jets and larger turboprops. This is by far the most aircraft we've ever seen. Patrick Leahy, Burlington International Airport in Vermont, is scheduled to receive between 100 and 130 general aviation planes on Monday, said Dave Carman, Deputy Director of Aviation Operations. It's also expecting some scheduled commercial passenger jet traffic. It's the most we've seen in a day, Carman said. It's going to be hectic getting out, he said. So, yeah, there were people that were legitimately taking flights to follow the path of this, which I don't know how the FAA got around that, especially with retinopathy again. But it was a weird one. Nothing terrible happened. The world didn't end. But regardless, the Mogwai says they make good bookmarks. I'm guessing he's talking about the glasses. We've got CBS talking about special flights operating through the Eclipse path of totality. We're going to have a quick listen to that. So let's see what they have to say.
Eclipse excitement has skyrocketed ahead of tomorrow's main event, and one airline is giving passengers what they describe as a unique experience, 30,000 feet in the air. CBS's Manuel Bajorquez got a preview.
We'll start a left-hand turn.
Delta Airlines captains Phil Marshall and Phil Daniels recently hopped inside this Airbus 220 simulator at the company's headquarters in Atlanta. They're experienced pilots, clearly, but come Monday, they'll be doing something new, chasing a solar eclipse.
When opportunity comes up, it's really special, and I think that we're going to be able to provide a really unique experience.
Delta offered the first April 8th flight from Austin to Detroit last month. It sold out within 24 hours. So the airline added a second flight from Dallas to Detroit, routes chosen because they're nearest to the path of the eclipse. They'll operate normally until they reach an area over southeast Missouri.
Ready, pack.
That's when, as we saw in the simulator, the captains plan to bank the plane 30 degrees once on each side to give passengers a view of the eclipse. They'll have 4 minutes of total eclipse time to do it.
It seems like a lot of things have to align in order for that to happen.
Absolutely, but that's what we're good at. And we've got fuel planning and flight planning and real-time support.
That's coming from Delta's Operations and Customer Center, where we learned the level of precision needed to make it all happen. The moon's shadow will travel at more than 1,500 miles per hour over the United States, even faster the further north it gets. Aaron Wehrman is a flight superintendent responsible for getting planes from point A to point B.
We're traveling at about 400 miles per hour. So the sun is actually going to be catching up to us. So we're taking off before it even hits the U.S. border on the south end, and it will catch up to us.
Then there's the question of weather. Warren Weston is a Delta meteorologist.
So the goal is, if there is any kind of cloud cover, is to get the plane above it, clearly.
Sure.
If it's safe to do so.
Absolutely. And of course, in the atmosphere, you've got low clouds, middle clouds. You know, the main type of cloud that would prohibit this experience is just high clouds.
So here's hoping for clear skies up high, where passengers will wear specialized glasses to protect their eyes during the eclipse, which Captain Marshall, for the safety.
Of course, Warby Parker had to have their name all over that too. Ha ha ha!
Of all involved will not be looking at. Still, he says, it'll be the flight of a lifetime.
So this is fantastic for me. It's always, every day's like a dream come true, though, for us as pilots.
I don't know. I don't know that I would want to be on a plane in the middle of that. Like, I'm not superstitious, but I know that there are enough people who get superstitious that might go back and cause something to happen or do something stupid to say that, oh, hey, I told you so. And again, being both at work but also under cloud cover just made it a non-event for me, honestly. It got a little bit dark, and that was about it for me, but that's what I saw for that. Let's keep going. Mogwai says, it's easy. The pilots are wearing Eclipse glasses. Mogwai also says, it's okay for Delta to dip 30 degrees on each side, but when ValueJet would do it, they would use terms like crashing and we're all going to die. Nice. That was funny. I like that. What else do we have? One from NPC News. The funny one. Concerns about eye discomfort appear to rise after solar eclipse. Gee, I wonder. From Evan Bush and Arya Bendix. Google searches about hurt eyes spiked on Monday afternoon just after many U.S. communities experienced the total solar eclipse. Wow, I wonder why that would have happened. The searches suggest some people in the sun's path were worried that they'd glanced at it too long. No. The searches suggest that they did glance at it too long and now their eyes hurt. It's a valid concern, eye experts said. Looking at the sun without protective equipment can harm your vision, and complaints of eye issues have been documented after past eclipse events. However, cases of long-term damage after eclipses aren't common. In addition, hurting eyes aren't the best indicator of severe problem. Injuries from solar retinopathy, when light injures retinas, occur without immediate pain. The two main types of injuries are possible from looking at the sun: a burn to the outside of the eye and damage to the nerve tissue within. You can get a little bit of burn to the surface of the eye, or what we call solar keratitis, said Dr. Daniel Lattin, an ophthalmologist at Nemours Children's Hospital in Jacksonville. You can get sort of a burn on the cornea, and that'll cause redness and tearing and some sorts of symptoms. That should resolve on its own within a day or two without any sort of permanent damage. That type of injury is rare and more commonly associated with climbers who spend time at high altitudes without proper eye protection, said Russell Van Gelder, an ophthalmologist at University of Washington Medicine and director of the Corrales Johnson Retina Center in Seattle. Yeah, I'm sure that's just a coincidence, though, that Raw's Alert coming out and showing it too. We're the interest of my eyes hurt and why do my eyes hurt spikes as we go in through the eclipse, especially it gets into more popular areas. Good job, Americans. Good job. All right, we've got some breaking news that showed up right before we got started today. The live chat back up here so I can see what you guys are doing and saying and what we have going on for that. Yeah, staring at the sun is bad? Yes. You should not do that. Could go with the old boys joke about sunglasses. You know, boobs are like the sun. It's bad if you stare at them long term without eye protection, but if you put your sunglasses on, you can stare at them for as long as you want. Don't do that, though. You might get slapped in public. All right, a little bit of breaking news today. A seeming insurrection. Post from Mary Margaret Olahan on X says, from a source in the Senate, Palestine protesters are taking over the Senate basement right now. Yes, in the Senate today, a pro-Gaza protest broke out. Actually, several of them are right in a row. Got this to look at first. Stop the genocide in the war. 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 Okay, I will give them credit. It doesn't say, hey, hey, ho, ho, the thing I don't like has got to go. I told them to get a new chant, and they got a new chant. I will give credit where credit is due. But I was also told that this is an insurrection of sorts. I wonder how many of these people who were present for this are going to have their doors kicked in by FBI agents 3 to 36 months later. Have their computers taken away from them, and all electronic devices that they own taken away from them for 2 years. And get sentenced. Have a criminal record, have a felony. How many of these people are going to have that? I'm guessing it's going to be none. From the Hill, Gaza protesters repeatedly interrupt Senate hearing with Pentagon leaders. From Brad Dress. Now, again, I was to the understanding that interrupting an official proceeding in the Capitol, I was to the understanding that was an insurrection. I'm going to speak the language, not chew it up and spit it the fuck out. Protesters demonstrating against the war in Gaza repeatedly interrupted a Tuesday Senate hearing attended by Lloyd Austin and Charles Brown. Our Joint Chiefs of Staff chair is General Charlie Brown. Really? That's awesome. The protesters interrupted the Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on Capitol Hill twice, demanding the U.S. stop funding Israel and supporting a genocide in Gaza, where Israel is fighting a major war against Hamas. The group made it into the hearing room, which, again, I was told, was an insurrection. While Austin was delivering his opening remarks on the Pentagon's 2025 budget request, forcing the committee to pause while police removed them from the room. "Stop killing my people," one demonstrator said. "Stop funding Israel." Several protesters began chanting to stop the genocide in Gaza, and at least one person said the U.S. should try to work on addressing issues like healthcare and climate change instead of sending money to Israel. Why am I agreeing with these morons? Now, I don't think that it should be going to climate change and healthcare. I think it should be going back into the pockets of the people that earned it. But I really don't think it should be going to Israel either. Let's be completely frank about that. The Mogwai says, "The fact we have to say staring at the sun is bad gives clues about that we are doomed." And then he says, "I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet, but your kids are going to love it." Love that movie, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but I am wearing my DeLorean t-shirt. Let's zoom back out for just a sec. I'm so proud of this thing. I got it from Once Upon a Tea, which I haven't checked their designs yet this week, but I want to see if I can get some more of those. I like their stuff. The t-shirt is nice and soft, and it's durable. Like, these have gone through multiple washings, and I just throw on whatever t-shirt. I don't have specific work t-shirts. I throw on whatever's available, whether it's one of these or not. But yeah, Gigawatts Garage. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get back to the news. OnceUponAT.com. Not an official endorsement. They're not paying me, but I like their stuff. I should see if they'll throw me a t-shirt every once in a while for free. Although they'll probably see the content here and say, "Ew, right-winger, no, we won't do it. We stop wearing my t-shirts on your stream." Maybe I better not rock the boat. Yeah, maybe I better not rock that boat. Either way, I like their stuff. Several protesters began chanting to stop the genocide in Gaza. I read that one. Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, the chair of the Armed Services Committee, scolded protesters for interrupting the hearing. "It is not appropriate for comments or demonstrations by the spectating audience here," he said. "We're conducting a hearing, and we will do so." That is an insurrection, though. But again, we're not going to be kicking down doors for that one, I can tell you that. And then they go into a review of why these people are protesting, which we are fully well aware of. Now, we do have some arrests. I will give credit again where credit is due. Falling Stars is here. Welcome. Welcome, Falling Stars. Dozens of anti-Israel protesters arrested after storming cafeteria and Senate office building. Cops. I don't know why that subheading is there. Whatever. Brian King reporting. Dozens of anti-Israel protesters were arrested Tuesday after storming through a Senate office building and briefly causing the cafeteria to be shut down, according to Capitol Police. Wait, so you caused an official function to be shut down, and this is, again, not an insurrection. Can somebody explain the rules to me? I know they involve the letter D. The mob of demonstrators marched inside the Dirksen Senate office building around 12:30 p.m. while chanting phrases such as, "Senate can't eat until Gaza eats." Approximately 50 people were arrested for illegally demonstrating inside the Dirksen Senate office building this afternoon. It's illegal to demonstrate inside any of the congressional buildings, Capitol Police told the Post. Yeah, we know, because that was the majority of the charges on the Capitol Selfie Fest. Falling Stars, its production was Central Casting. Christians for a Free Palestine took credit for orchestrating the demonstration alongside Code Pink, a self-described grassroots bullshit. Grassroots feminist organization notorious for causing disruptions at numerous congressional hearings. Also on Tuesday, Code Pink activists heckled and interrupted Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin during his hearing before the Senate Armed Services Committee. So, and again, I'm a little surprised they're actually getting arrested for this, but it is also what it is. Mogwai says the rulebook is in pencil with a bitch ton of eraser markings. A bitch ton? That is a technical term, I believe. That is an actual technical measurement. So, yeah, they're not going to get arrested. They're not going to have FBI agents storming their homes at 4 o'clock in the morning while they're sitting up and playing video games and eating avocado toast and have them held at gunpoint on their front lawns in front of their family. They're not going to get any of that. Frank, your earbud is showing. My earbud is showing too. Alright. Now, what was going to be the second story for the day, the Donald has released his abortion stance. We're going to listen to this in its entirety because this is an official policy prescription. One of the first that we've got from the Trump admin, by the way. I mentioned that in my solo video. If you guys haven't checked that out, it is linked in the Discord, or you can check it out on the YouTube channel. It's recent enough, you can go back and check it out again. Somebody see if you can get that video to Trump's team, because I think you could turn a lot of the tide towards Trump if you follow the guidelines that I put out. But we have an actual policy prescription. He came out with his where he stands on abortion. Full disclosure, I've only heard the reaction to this one. I have not sat and watched this video yet. I'll be watching this for the first time with you guys. But for 424, let's hear what the Orange Man has to say.
The Republican Party will always support the creation of strong, thriving, and healthy American families. We want to make it easier for mothers and families to have babies, not harder. That includes supporting the availability of fertility treatments like IVF in every state in America. Like the overwhelming majority of Americans, including the vast majority of Republicans, conservatives, Christians, and pro-life Americans, I strongly support the availability of IVF for couples who are trying to have a precious baby. What could be more beautiful or better than that? Today I'm pleased that the Alabama legislature has acted very quickly and passed legislation that preserves the availability of IVF in Alabama. They really did a great and fast job. The Republican Party should always be on the side of the miracle of life and the side of mothers, fathers, They're beautiful babies, and that's what we are. IVF is an important part of that, and our great Republican Party will always be with you in your quest for the ultimate joy in life. Many people have asked me what my position is on abortion and abortion rights, especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended. It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the 9th month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart or, in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people. I want to thank the 6 justices, Chief Justice John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch, incredible people, for having the courage to allow this long-term, hard-fought battle to finally end. This 50-year battle over Roe v. Wade took it out of the federal hands and brought it into the hearts, minds, and vote of the people in each state. It was really something. Now it's up to the states to do the right thing. Like Ronald Reagan, I am strongly in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. You must follow your heart on this issue, but remember, you must also win elections to restore our culture and, in fact, to save our country, which is currently, and very sadly, a nation in decline. Our nation needs help. It needs unity. It needs us all to work closely together. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, everyone, we have to work together. We have to bring our nation back from the brink, and that's where it is. It's at the brink, and we will. We will do it. I promise you, we will do it. Always go by your heart, but we must win. We have to win. We are a failing nation, but we can be a failing nation no longer. We will make our nation great. We will make our nation greater than ever before. Thank you very much.
Okay, there is a lot to unpack there. That was a fairly genius way of putting that too. Like everything that he wound up, every point that he got to with that, every position that he got to with that, has forced the argument in many, many ways. Now, of course, coming out and claiming that killing your child, especially as you're getting towards your 8th or 9th month, is execution. That is murder. People like me believe it's murder all the time. But people like me don't trust the government to come back and do something about it without putting a carve-out in for their big donor buddies. That's kind of where I part with a lot of my more evangelocon friends, of course. Instead, myself preferring to affect what I can control and make sure that nobody who comes into this house, because I'm not married myself, ever has to have an abortion. Vis-a-vis, this is the direction that we go. But there were a lot of other subtle nuances with that, of course, with pointing out the fact that it's execution. Now, there are a lot of places like Colorado, California, New Mexico, Illinois, Minnesota, who are now trying to push to a let it go, be a free-for-all. Hell, the Ralph Northam position of go up until it's born and maybe a few days afterwards Keep it comfortable until we decide what to do with it. And a lot of these states right now want to run to that, which means that they have to run on that, running against places that are, I mean, most of this country is probably going to settle on a good 12 to 15 week arbitrary line. I'm going to be completely frank and honest with you. Even in states that are redder than red, Florida is probably one of the only places where you're going to pull off a absolute moment of conception ban, and maybe Mississippi and Alabama. I mean, those are a very, very, very small number of places where you could actually get something off like that. But like Kentucky, Kansas, well, Kansas has it enshrined in their constitution already. If they do start voting on it, they're going to start coming to a 12 to 15 week ban and let the liberals be the radicals, of course. But Donald Trump pointed something else out in this video that was genius enough, and a lot of the evangelocons missed it, and a lot of the people who are now coming out and criticizing him for becoming a pro-choice candidate missed it as well, and that is the fact that he pointed out that you can't do anything unless you win. We can't do anything about anything else unless you win. You cannot prescribe policy unless you win. But on the other side of it, grifters and neoconservatives like Charlie Kirk and Laura Loomer make a lot more money when they're the underdogs from private donations, trying to get them up and trying to pay them to come back out and change the conversation. But no, you don't change votes. You don't change policy, public policy, private policy, etc., unless you are in power. That is why the Donald is holding on to the states' rights issue with this. Let the states come back and decide. He's wiped his hands clean of it. He's washed himself completely out of it. And again, yes, I know the more evangelocons, I know what they're saying, because they have the exact same position on what it is as I do. Except they are comfortable letting the federal government come in and say, strike it all down. If you fornicate, you must carry to term all the time. They are not shy about that. But those are the people who will, again, not be prescribing policy as they go. Let's read a little bit more about this here. Let's throw some music back up. Helix says, Pelosi needs to keep the... Yeah, I can't say that on YouTube. That is definitely going to be a ban on YouTube. Mogwai says, test tube babies are humans too. Donald, you had nothing to do with the Roe overturn. That's about half true. He deserves more credit than Mogwai will give him, but he is not the father of the Roe overturn either. But he was able to put a Supreme Court up that could hear it and hear the fact that it was bad case law and actually understand it. This thing has more cuts than a goth chick. I guarantee Donald's paid for an abortion or 3. I don't doubt that in the least. I don't. Alright, let's read some of the reaction here. You can't read it on YouTube, that's how you know it's true, says Dual Helix. Alright, from the Wall Street Journal. Trump says states should chart their own path on abortion, from Alex Leary and Catherine Lucy. Former President Trump said abortion should be left to the states, avoiding taking a position on the number of weeks in which the procedure should be banned as he tries to navigate the issue that's animated Democrats. My view is now that we have an abortion where everyone wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by voter legislation, or perhaps both, whatever they decide must be the law of the land, Trump said Monday in a campaign video. Many states will be different at the end of the day. This is all about the will of the people. Trump's stance is unlikely to please religious conservatives who want him to embrace tougher restrictions. And one prominent group quickly expressed its disappointment, and Democrats are certain to continue to blame him for the 2022 Supreme Court ruling and that ended the constitutional right to the procedure that was never there. Trump has taken credit for putting 3 conservative justices on the high court during his admin and thanked the court Monday for having the courage to allow this long-term, hard-fought battle to finally end. Biden spokesperson Amar Moussa said on X that by avoiding taking a position, Trump is endorsing every single abortion ban in the state. Yeah, they're still going to try to get back under that and try to make it about him banning abortion. Even though he's not in power right now, was not again able to prescribe policy when the overturn happened. Including abortion bans with no exceptions, which do not exist in this country. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the anti-abortion group Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, expressed disappointment in Trump's position, saying it ceded the national debate on abortion to Democrats. If successful, they will wipe out states' rights, she said. Well, again, the reason that this is important is because it takes away, and even while the pro-aborts are extremely trying to tie a Texas no exception ban, which doesn't exist again, to Donald Trump, that's taken an arrow out of his quiver. Because if the leader of the party, who would probably veto, given the statement that he made, a national abortion ban if it came to his desk, given the statement that was made right before that we saw, that means that we can't have the attack ads of Congressman R will go to Congress and immediately try to ban abortion. Senator G will go to Congress and immediately try to ban abortion. Magua, you know which one Senator G is, by the way. And that takes it up out of the quiver. That takes the ammunition away. So we can focus on things like regulations, fuel, energy, and things like that. Things that power an economy. I don't praise Donald Trump very often because I think he was a C- president. But this was good. This was perfect. Business Insider trying to defend the Democrats because Business Insider is a left-leaning publication. Trump lied during his big abortion announcement, said Democrats want to be able to execute babies, from Brent D. Griffiths. Former President Trump lied on Monday and said that Democrats wanted babies executed after birth in a video that was supposed to unveil his views on the politically fraught issue of abortion. They support abortion up to and even beyond the 9-month, Trump said in a video posted on Truth Social. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth. Trump's claim was part of an announcement that sought to finally establish his views on the abortion. Amid a series of sometimes contradictory statements, he declined to support a nationwide abortion ban. The former president said that whatever individual states determine must be the law of the land, but did not establish an explicit position on abortion rights ballot initiatives pending in the states throughout the country. As he has in the past, Trump argued that since Democrats articulate few limits they want to place on abortion, it means that they want to allow abortions up to the point of birth, or even after that. This infanticide argument has been part of the abortion debate for years. Well, you also have to keep in mind that Ralph Northam came out and literally said it in the most literal sense of the word. So spare me your argument of the fact that it doesn't exist. What's funny about that, the funniest thing about that, is if Ralph Northam had been defeated his last time through, and he wasn't the governor at the time, or more accurately, he and his administration hadn't said what was said about after the moment of birth and keeping the baby company and things like that, I don't think Dobbs would have made it. I don't think Dobbs would have ever been brought forward. I think that issue would have been dead because, as many people pointed out, Big Don himself has probably paid for an abortion or two. He probably has. I don't think this would have even been an issue had it not been for Northam. The fact is that abortions beyond 21 weeks are rare, as multiple outlets and fact checkers have confirmed. According to CDC, from before the Supreme Court gutted Roe v. Wade, less than 1% of abortions were performed at 21 weeks or later in gestation. Doctors have said such abortions are performed for medical emergencies only. The Biden White House has backed the Women's Health Protection Act, which, as Business Insider previously reported, did not allow for post-birth termination. The bill did allow for later abortions for health reasons, which anti-abortion groups have argued is too vague of a position that could allow for abortions for psychological or emotional reasons, which is true, by the way. That is technically a medical reason. President Biden, in a statement released by his campaign, which means he wasn't the one that said it, said that Trump, more than anyone in America, has response to uncertainty and nationwide rights and Supreme Court, man, and you're on notice, man. So, there's Business Insider doing the work of the Democrat Party. Politico will look at this one briefly. What to know about Trump's abortion announcement. Here's the tagline. Trump didn't rule out signing a national abortion ban, though it's unlikely Congress would be able to pass one. Should we go listen to this again? Because I'm going to tell you right off the bat, from where I was sitting, he pretty well ruled this out.
Healthy America is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state.
That kind of sounds like he would not sign a national abortion ban. From Megan Messerly. Former President Trump is trying to appease competing factions within the Republican Party with his announcement that abortion policy should be left to the states. It's part of an attempt by Trump to neutralize the issue ahead of a campaign in which Biden and his team is expected to spend millions, reminding voters that Trump helped overturn Roe and the consequences families have faced since. Early returns show Trump maintains support of his base, even those disappointed by the decision. But in the 4-minute video on Truth Social, which comes after months of uncertainty over exactly where Trump stood on one of the most divisive issues, notably for what was not said, Trump did not rule out signing a national abortion ban. Tell me you didn't watch the video without telling me you didn't watch the video. Though it's unlikely Congress would be able to pass one. He did not mention executive actions he would take without Congress that could curb access to abortion even in blue states. Well, I mean, maybe Politico, you should go listen to the video because it sounds to me like he has no interest in curbing anything in blue states. You know, again, saying that the people must go out and vote. Politico, I would say that you are fucking lying. Because you don't have the political hammer on which to hammer the Trump admin, potentially an incoming. Let's see, here's 6 takeaways. Abortion opponents wanted Trump to endorse national restrictions. He didn't. Which, by the way, that headline right there goes completely counter to these last 2 paragraphs. 100% counter. Restricting abortion at the state level is complicated. No, it's not. The people decide what they want. They tell their lawmakers to vote on a law for that. If the people in the state think that it's barbaric or too restrictive, They have interstate commerce, and they can go to Colorado and get it done while the baby is crowning. And realistically, there's nothing that their home state can do about it, for the same reason I could drive across the state line into Minnesota and smoke the fattest fucking blunt there is, and then come back into Wisconsin, and there's nothing that the Wisconsin State Patrol could do about it. Well, possibly driving under the influence, but there's nothing Wisconsin could do about it, even though it's fully illegal here still, even for medicinal. Because I didn't do it in a state that it was legal. It's not complicated at all. Anti-abortion advocates are reading between the lines. The easiest way for Trump to move the needle on abortion policy during his second term is through executive action, a topic he did not address on Monday. You liar! Anti-abortion advocates told Politico they don't view Trump's declaration that abortion should be left to the states as an indication that he's ruled out using administrative levers to curb abortion during his second term. What do you think being left to the states means? Trump spoke about IVF and left other issues unresolved. The former president opened his remarks by supporting IVF. Polls show the procedure is overwhelmingly popular, and the GOP faced a wave of backlash earlier when Alabama court ruled the frozen embryos are people, causing some clinics to temporarily suspend services. Democrats will keep tying Republicans to abortion no matter the position they take. Well, yeah, that's the only way. That's, especially in an economy like this, that's the only thing they have to win on. So yes, of course they're going to. No matter how much of a lie it is, it's all that they have. Sorry, yeah, Mogwai says, please don't make us listen to Trump again. We will behave. And we had to go for a little bit of that one, unfortunately. But we're not going to do the 4 minutes again. From Axios, another one that's going to lie in the favor of trying to tie all Republicans to abortion till the end of time. Republicans quietly embrace Trump's cover on abortion, from Steph W. Knight and Steve Newcam. Former President Trump's decision not to back a federal abortion ban provides some cover for Republicans on their most politically vulnerable issue in the middle of a high-stakes election year. Why it matters, the presumptive nominee's statement effectively ends any serious talk about trying to pass a federal ban, at least for now. See, Axios, which is openly left-wing, was at least honest about that point. Politico was not. And solidifies a stance that the GOP has increasingly been adopting post-Roe. Multiple Republican sources told Axios Trump's move was smart and reflects where they believe most of America is in the post-Roe era. Even Republicans who may quietly support abortion restrictions recognize the political landmine the issue is and have been hesitant to support any such efforts. Republicans do not support a federal ban on abortion, period, said Senator Daines of Montana, who chairs the National Republican Senatorial Committee. That's a lie you're hearing from Democrats to scare voters. We'll get into that in just a moment. Daines was one of the two original co-sponsors on a 15-week ban introduced months after Roe was overturned, which was a stupid decision, by the way. John Thune told reporters Trump's view likely reflected the current consensus among the majority of Republicans, but that could change over time. Thune is a contender to replace McConnell as leader and supported a 15-week ban in 2022. Cornyn, who's also running for the leader, said it was a practical matter to leave the abortion standards to the states because there weren't 60 votes in the Senate. That should not be your standard as to why you do it that way. He did not answer when asked what he would do if he became the majority leader. I see Lindsay's name over there, but we'll be talking about him in just a minute. The Associated Press, Trump's abortion statement angers conservatives and gives the Biden campaign a new target. Yes, they're going to go try to pull the "he's not Christian enough" card off of this one. From Steve Peoples, Trump says he's proud of the Supreme Court justices he nominated to overturn Roe, yet he again on Monday avoided tough questions about abortion, including whether he would support a national ban should he return to the White House. Religious conservatives said they were deeply disappointed. Progressives said he was lying. And there's every indication that abortion will define the 2024 election, no matter what Trump does or says, because the Democrats have nothing else to run on. Searching for political safe ground, we saw that one here. A test of Trump's base. The outrage from Democrats was expected. The fierce infighting among Trump's GOP was not. We're deeply disappointed in Trump's position, said Marjorie Dannenfelser. Former Vice President Pence, who has declined to endorse his former running mate this year, put it this way. President Trump's retreat on the right to life is a slap in the face of millions of pro-life Americans. Well, go ahead and cede the power to make decisions to Democrats and see what it looks like as a slap in the face to pro-life Americans. On social media, some conservatives latched onto Trump's reference to the term abortion rights, arguing such rights do not exist. Even Lindsey Graham, a vocal Trump ally, said on X he respectfully disagrees with Trump's new position. And as he often does, Trump went after his critics by name. Lindsey, Marjorie, and others fought for years, unsuccessfully, until I came along and got the job done. Then they were gone, never to be heard from again, until now, Trump said on Truth Social. He added, Democrats are thrilled with Lindsey because they want this issue to simmer as long as of a period of time as possible. Yeah, we'll be talking about that. Biden's re-election mobilizes. Democrats would have more ammunition this November if Trump had publicly embraced a national abortion plan on Monday, but Biden's party still has plenty of work to work with. In Monday's statement, Trump said he was proudly responsible for the Roe reversal. Within hours, the Biden campaign released a scathing new advertising featuring a woman who nearly died after being denied medical care due to restrictive abortion restriction laws after Roe was overturned. That is a lie, by the way. She did not nearly die. I know which woman they're talking about. Prominent pro-choice groups lashed out as well, with many arguing Trump cannot be trusted after his leading role in overturning abortion rights. Biden issued a 7-paragraph statement labeling Trump as singularly responsible for creating the cruelty and the chaos that's enveloped America since Roe was overturned. So they're going to lie until November, is what they're going to do. In the video, Trump repeated the GOP's long-standing argument it's Democrats, not Republicans, who are extreme on abortion, because they support abortion rights with no restrictions. Yeah, that's what makes them extreme. So, that's where we are with that. Yeah, we already heard from Mike Pence, slap in the face. Mike Pence is trying to lose in November, though. And there's a lot of evidence that I see where these people are trying to lose in November because they want the populism crushed. And they want the good little Republicans, the neoconservatives, who vote for war, and then they say, now slow down, you Democrats, slow down. That's what they want. Oof, that one I can't read. That one I can, but the one before that I can't. Mogwai says, Lindsey actually disagreed with Trump. It has to be a misprint. Well, let's read. From the X account of Linda Graham. I respectfully disagree with President Trump's statement that abortion is a state rights issue, sugar. Dobbs does not require that conclusion legally, and the pro-life movement has always been about the well-being of the unborn child, not geography. No, that's actually what was in the Dobbs decision. 100%, in fact. Stephanie Coe, who is a friend of the show, says, you want us to lose in 2024? This is how we lose in 2024. I will put money down right now that in the second week of October, Lindsey Graham proposes a national 4-week abortion ban in the Senate. He's probably already got the bill written. The Hill, Graham breaks with Trump on national abortion ban. From Alex Bolton. Lindsey Graham broke with former President Trump on Monday over Trump's decision to back away from endorsing a national 15-week ban, declaring that leaving the issue entirely to the states runs contrary to an American consensus that would limit late-term abortions. Graham argued that the pro-life movement has always been about the well-being of the unborn child, not geography. Again, and this goes right back to what I said at the very beginning of this segment. If you are not in power, you do not get to make laws. If you would like to make laws, you have to be in power. And you will not be in power if you embrace positions like Lindsey Graham is embracing. I don't agree with abortion at all. Not at 1 week, not at 6 weeks, not at 15 weeks, not at 30 weeks, not at 2 weeks post-birth. I don't agree with any of it. But I know full well that you do not make policy if you are not in office. I don't support it at 1 day. But you don't make policy if you're not in office. He reiterated his argument that 47 of 50 European countries have national limits on abortion between 12 and 15 weeks, which again is where I say even most of the reddest of red states will probably hit that 12 to 15 week mark, because that's a worldwide consensus on where barbarism is. I think it's before that, but I'm not in Congress, nor do I want to make that decision nationwide. But he is trying to lose. Lindsey Graham is trying to lose this argument. Let's grab another one from the Hill. And then I think we are done with the abortion segment. And we can move on to important things like student loans. From the Hill, Trump fires back at Graham and abortion hardliners over criticism. From Brett Samuels. Former President Trump pushed back against Lindsey Graham and other conservatives who were critical of his statement on abortion earlier in the day, in which Trump declined to take a position on federal legislation limiting the procedure. Again, the Hill tells the truth. I don't know why Politico couldn't. In a lengthy post on Truth Social, Trump wrote that Graham is doing a great disservice to the Republican Party and a country, and argued others who publicly favor stricter abortion laws were committing political malpractice or political suicide, whichever you want to call it. Terminating Roe was, according to all legal scholars, a great event, but sometimes great events come with difficulties. Many good Republicans lost elections because of the issue, and people like Lindsey Graham, that are unrelenting, are handing Democrats their dream of the House, Senate, and perhaps even the presidency. Bingo! Right there. Once again, I remind you, I hope that we don't have to live under 4 more years of Biden. But you need to, at this point in your life, stock up on food, drop 10 pounds, learn a new skill, drop a vice, and prepare for several hard months ahead, if not hard years. Because there is the possibility it could get worse before it gets better. Kamala Harris is coming. Those words are nightmare fuel. All right, let's move, as long as we're talking about policy positions, let's talk about the latest vote buy from the Associated Press. What to know about Biden's latest attempt at student loan cancellation? From Colin Binkley. Biden is taking another shot at student loan cancellation, hoping to deliver on a key campaign promise he has so far failed to fulfill. In a visit to Wisconsin on Monday, Biden detailed a proposal that would cancel at least some debt for more than 30 million Americans. It's been in the works for months after the Supreme Court rejected Biden's first try at a mass cancellation. Biden called the court's decision a mistake, but ordered the Education Department to craft a new plan. Using a different legal authority, the latest proposal is more targeted than his original plan, focusing on those for whom student debt is a major obstacle. Here's what to know about the new plan. Biden's first attempt at widespread student loan cancellation would have erased $10,000 for borrowers with yearly incomes of up to $125K, plus an additional $10K if they receive federal Pell Grants for low-income students. By the way, that does not affect any private loans. So if you went to a school like UTI, you're fucked. Just a reminder. It was estimated to cost $400 billion and cancel at least some student debt for more than 40 million people. The Supreme Court rejected that plan late last year, saying Biden overstepped his authority. The new plan uses a different legal justification, the Higher Education Act, which allows the Secretary of Education to waive the student loan debt in certain cases. The Education Department has been going through a federal rulemaking process to clarify how the Secretary can invoke that authority. Probably not as broadly as they're trying to. The new plan targets 5 categories of borrowers: Brown, Mexican, Asian, Jewish, and transgender. No, that's not actually what it is, but focusing on those who believe to be in the greatest need of help, it would provide relief of an estimated 30 million borrowers. The admin said has not said how much the plan would cost. I'm guessing it's going to be about $600 billion. Who's eligible? Biden's new proposal would offer cancellation to 5 categories. The widest-reaching provision aims to reset the student loan balances for borrowers who have seen their debt grow because of unpaid interest. It would cancel up to $20,000 in interest for Americans who now owe more than they originally borrowed. That I'm not 100% opposed to. But the problem with that, of course, is going to fall under equal protection. That's why when I made my proposal, I had said, hey, let's go ahead and give a tax credit to the people that pay them off for their interest. If we're going to cancel all the interest, let's reward the people that did it already. They'll take the money, they'll spend it, they'll improve their homes, they'll buy a car, it'll fire up the economy. But I have this feeling they're not going to go and do that. That cap wouldn't apply for the individuals who make less than $120K a year or couples that earn less than $240,000 and are also enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. The Education Department says 25 million people would be eligible for that relief, including 23 million who would get that interest erased entirely. Borrowers who are eligible for the other federal forgiveness programs but haven't applied would also get their loans canceled under the new proposal. It applies to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Yeah, if you work for the government, you get free college. It's meant to help people who missed out on forgiveness because of complex paperwork, bad advice, or other obstacles. An estimated 2 million people would be eligible for that help. All debt would be canceled for borrowers who have been repaying undergraduate loans for about 20 years or more, or 25 years for those with graduate school debt. The Biden admin says it would erase loans for more than 2 million people. Those who attended college programs of low financial value would be eligible for forgiveness. That plan would cancel debt for borrowers who went to institutions that lost eligibility for federal education funding because they cheated students. It would also cancel loans for people who went to college programs that left graduates with low incomes compared to their student loans. A final category would cancel loans for Americans facing hardship that prevents them from repaying their student loans. The rule would allow Education Department to cancel debt for borrowers who are considered highly likely to default on their loans, and would create an application system for individuals to detail other forms of hardship. So again, for the interest part of it, I'm not 100% opposed to that. That was my initial proposal. But it's going to be a vote by, of course, because it's only going to affect people who still have it out there. Again, they're not going to go back and do this for people who were responsible. There are better ways to do this than what it is he's going to try to do. But it'll also answer the question whether or not my proposal will face the scrutiny of the Supreme Court. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. The Daily Wire is saying it a little bit more bluntly. Biden again tries to win over young voters with new student loan bailout. President Biden, facing poor polling numbers for a Democratic candidate with young voters, announced another student loan bailout program this week ahead of the 2024 election. Biden's new plan would take taxpayer money to wipe out the student loan debt of over 30 million borrowers, the White House said. The admin said the actions were specifically designed to provide relief to Black and Latino borrowers, which this will also fall apart under the scrutiny of equal protection, who attended community college and who are financially vulnerable because they took out debt but never had the chance to complete their degree. The plan would provide relief to borrowers who owe more than they did at the start of the repayment, borrowers who are otherwise eligible for loan forgiveness but have not yet applied, borrowers who first entered repayment many years ago, borrowers who enrolled in low financial value programs, and borrowers experience hardship paying back their loans. And yes, Shapiro, in his most blunt ways, says, yes, this is a vote by. I wanted to point one thing out, though, because we have one vote by who's trying to convince other people to go back and vote by with this. So I'm going to read the tweet above this, which I did archive just in case this dude blocked me before we got to it. Although apparently it didn't archive, so I'm glad that he's not blocked me yet. But Rod, who got massively ratioed on this, says, "My student loans were forgiven today thanks to President Biden. All the MAGA haters, yes. I work and own my own home," which, there's my first question is, why do you still have student debt if you work and own your own home? If you're able to put that money into your mortgage, then yes, you should throw some of that into your loan. I'm just saying. I'm not on government assistance. I'm not looking for a handout. No, I don't care that you're mad about it. Go President Biden. Now, see, it's funny. And I'll read from Menial Nikola Tesla in just a moment. What this actually is. But I want to point one thing out here. Rod says, I'm not on government assistance. And no, I'm not looking for a handout. But in your first sentence here, you bragged about the fact that your student loans were forgiven today, which means the government assisted you in doing something that you claim as a homeowner that you couldn't do for yourself, which is the very definition of government assistance. And in order to do so, you took a handout. Does somebody want to go and tell him? Actually, I already did. That is literally the definition of government assistance and a handout. You are on government assistance if you took that student loan forgiveness. Which, by the way, if it comes down to it, I'm not going to take it. And yes, it would benefit me to take it. But I wouldn't on principle. I hate the government. Of course I'm not going to fucking take it. Unless it's forced on me. Menial Nikola Tesla, which I highlighted this comment specifically, I'm not mad at anyone for accepting the student loan forgiveness. That makes no sense. I and many others are basically mad about the president paying for votes by shifting debt of college students to taxpayers, which is what that is. That's the reason I highlighted this. That then he and his admin want to call it forgiveness. That's an absolute lie. Tesla goes on to say, remember, now people who never had a college course will pay the debt of college students. Low-wage workers will pay the loans of other Americans. I want to see if the FEC can get involved and investigate this, because this is an in-kind donation at the taxpayer expense. Until I read that comment, I hadn't thought of it that way, but that is an in-kind donation. The FEC should be involved in that, I would think. If you're going to use taxpayer money to prop up people while leaving others in the dark, then yeah, that's an in-kind donation. You're buying votes literally on taxpayer money. All right. You've got more Trump news. I'm going to try to fly through this. I don't know what we're going to do on time. I know we're getting down there at some point. All right. From Fox, Trump makes another appeal to Georgia court to dismiss charges on First Amendment grounds. From Brianna Hurley over at Fox News. Former President Trump and his co-defendants in the Georgia election interference case have asked a judge to let them appeal the indictment against them on First Amendment grounds. On Monday, Trump filed a joint motion with 14 co-defendants asking Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee to allow them to appeal his April 4th order, in which he said charges should not be tossed because the defendants' actions and statements about the 2024 election were not constitutionally protected. In the court filing, Trump and the defendants argue that while the court held the indictment is not subject to dismissal, interlocutory appellate review of the defendants' vital constitutional protections is both prudent and warranted. Trump and the other unjustly accused defendants have jointly filed a motion requesting the court grant a certificate of immediate review of its order denying their pretrial First Amendment challenges. Steve Sadow, an attorney for the Trump, said in a statement, the motion powerfully expresses that the indictment wrongfully criminalizes core political speech and expressive conduct protected by the First Amendment. There is no democracy without robust and uninhibited freedom of expression. For these reasons, among others, the court's order is ripe for pretrial appellate review, he said. McAfee has 10 days from his April 4th order to decide whether or not to let the parties appeal. If he does, they will have 10 days from that order to appeal to the Georgia Court of Appeals or the Georgia Supreme Court. Which tells me, again, this is probably going to get to the Supreme Court at some point, which would push this particular trial past Election Day. And I'm not sure how it would go. I think it's a stretch to say, with the charges that are brought forward, that it would be dismissible on First Amendment grounds, but I also know the charges brought forward are bullshit. So they should be dismissed on that, not on a technicality. But in an immediate response to what happened last week that we reported on in New York, Trump campaign announces record $50.5 million haul at Florida fundraiser. Oh boy, did this piss off the paid shills over on X, who are complaining about the fact that CNN is reporting this without verifying. From Frederica Schutten and Elena Treen. Trump's campaign said it raised $50.5 million on a Saturday fundraiser in Florida, a staggering sum as the former president's political operation scrambles to close its big financial gap with President Biden and the Democrat Party. The haul announced by the campaign and top officials with the Republican National Committee far eclipses the $26 million Biden reported collecting recently at a star-studded gathering in New York City that featured former Presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. The Trump total from the inaugural leadership dinner at the Palm Beach, Florida home of the billionaire investor John Paulson sets a record for the single fundraising event. It's clear now that we have the message, the operation, and the money to propel President Trump to victory on November 5th. Trump campaign senior advisors Chris LaSavita and Susan Wiles said in a statement. Trump delivered a traditional campaign speech to wealthy donors at the fundraiser, highlighting core issues he wants to focus on in a second term, extending the tax cuts, securing the southern border, and ending Biden's electric vehicle mandates, according to Trump campaign official and the guest of the event. The closed-door dinner hosted at the home of the billionaire investor John Paulson signaled that some of the GOP's biggest donors are rallying behind Trump as general election showdown with Biden swings into gear. Now, as we go into the midst of this, one of the things to point out with this is, number one, this did infuriate the left, who were bragging about the fact that the record was set 2 weeks ago in Manhattan. But more importantly for this, it's important to keep in mind that this is not a guaranteed long-term funding strategy. In fact, the grassroots and the donations coming through, if you're going to fund, are going to be the more important part. But something else to keep in mind with this, of course, is the fact that in an election cycle where supporters can get their message across quickly with memes and gather on social media platforms and in other places, money is proving to be a less and less reliable indicator of how a campaign is doing. Now, yes, Biden is going to continue to go the old school way, and Democrats are going to do so too, and Republicans will do a bunch of that as well, where they're going to go to the radio waves and the TV waves, and they're going to try to push a YouTube advertisement in there or get an advertisement before your program on Paramount Plus or Hulu or whatever it is you're watching with ads, because the Biden economy's made it too expensive for you to go ad-free. And in all these other places, they're going to go the traditional route with that and buy the ad space and spend millions of dollars with corporate buddies to go back and do that. Whereas 10 million of us on X and in Discord can spread around a funny picture of a frog for free. And that's where some of the messaging is going and coming from. And part of the reason that the Trump campaign did so well in 2016, because Hillary tried so hard to dominate all the other avenues, big billionaires and media, hoping to get a Hillary win. Meanwhile, again, I point out the fact that many of the rest of us in 2016 spread our message with a funny picture of a frog for free. But it's still hilarious. Biden facing some electoral challenges again in another state. ABC News, Biden could face challenges getting on Ohio general ballot. From Juhi Doshi and Isabella Murray. There could be potential general election ballot access concerns for Biden in Ohio. The state Secretary of State's office said in a letter to Ohio Democratic Chair Liz Walters on Friday. In the letter obtained by ABC News, legal counsel for Secretary of State Frank LaRose sought clarification of an apparent conflict of Ohio law between the Democratic National Committee's nominating process and the deadline by which party presidential nominee must be certified to the Secretary of State's office. The DNC is scheduled to convene on August 19th, which will take place more than a week after the August 7th deadline to certify a presidential candidate in Ohio. The office flagged according to a state code, which would create a problem for Biden's eligibility. Okay, I'm not going to say this because I don't want to see the fight for this, because I think it would be absolutely fucking hilarious. But I'm going to say this based on the fact that this is reality. Just fucking certify him. He's got the delegates. The delegates are sealed. He's the nominee. You don't have to wait for the convention for that. But it also kind of makes me wonder, with the fact that they're waiting for the convention right now to come back and file the paperwork, whereas if you had the delegates at this point in any other situation, then he'd be in. He's it. He's the guy. And it lends some credence to me, the question of whether or not he is going to step aside at the convention and say, hey man, I'm just too old. I'm going to give all my delegates over to this guy over here, man, because I can't do it. At the very last minute. Because legitimately that would be the only reason for them not to go and certify at this point. Now I don't know why there's been such a change, because isn't the DNC usually later in August? Is this not something we've gone through before? I don't know. I think they're going to swap them at the convention, or at least the evidence by the fact that they're contending with Ohio right now for this tells me that it's a possibility. What could screw with Biden, though? Fox 10 Phoenix. Menthol cigarette ban. Biden admin may finalize regulations soon. From Stephanie Weaver. Before I even get into this one, I want to point something out here. Now, this would not affect me because I wouldn't vote for Biden, regardless of anything. But the first thing, like, they're constantly talking about the black vote on this and losing the black vote, and I think that's insanely racist. But occasionally I break down and I smoke. I don't do it very often because by the time I'm halfway through the pack, I'm pretty pissed at myself that I broke down and smoked, because I've got a constant sore sinuses and my cough comes back and everything else that goes with that. But when I do break down, I'm a menthol smoker. The Biden admin is preparing to issue highly anticipated standards targeting menthol cigarettes. The regulations, which would broadly ban the product, were first proposed by the FDA 2 years ago, and have continued to spark debate between the health advocates, civil liberties, and business groups. On Tuesday, anti-smoking groups sued the U.S. government over the long-awaited ban on menthol cigarettes, in the latest effort to force the government to ban the product, which is disproportionately used by black smokers and young people. The FDA remains committed to issuing the tobacco product standards for menthol cigarettes and characterizing flavors in cigars as expeditiously as possible. These rules have been submitted to the Office of Management and Budget for review, which is the final step in the rulemaking process, an FDA spokesperson told Fox News Digital. As we've made clear, these product standards remain at the top of our priorities. Health officials under Biden initially targeted to publish the rule eliminating the minty flavor last August. But late last year, White House officials said they would take until March to review the review. 3 nonprofit groups, including the Action on Smoking and Health, filed their lawsuit in a federal court in California after the March deadline had passed. So, like, these nonprofits are coming out and legitimately suing the Biden admin to try to force his hand. The Mo says cigarette ban. Why do we feel the need to regulate behavior? All you're going to do is piss off the 20 people that still smoke. Yeah, I mean, and I thought Gen Z was out of cigarettes. by this point, but there was a big pushback when they raised the age to 21, which I also thought was completely unnecessary, by the way. Because of the defendant's inaction, tobacco companies have continued to use menthol cigarettes to target youth, women, and the black community, all to the detriment of public health, the group state in their complaint. Meanwhile, associations representing the convenience stores, police, consumers, and minority groups have warned that a ban on menthols could foster a black market, like every other ban in history has done, while punishing small business owners and minorities who are the largest consumers of the product. That is like the fastest way to lose an election, especially as a Democrat trying to pander to the minority community. And even Slate coming out and saying that. Slate. Biden might ban menthol cigarettes and it's possible it could affect the election. No, it will affect the election. From Jacob Greer. Anti-smoking groups have been pressuring Biden for years to ban menthols. They've made significant progress at one point. In April 2022, the FDA proposed a rule that would prohibit their sale. Banning menthol would plausibly lead to positive outcomes for public health at reducing the appeal of smoking cigarettes and causing some smokers to quit. But there are also concerns that the goal of the ban would be undermined by the FDA's restrictions on safer alternatives, like flavored e-cigarettes, which would incentivize illicit markets, make menthol smokers more likely to stick with conventional cigarettes, and potentially subject the ban to legal challenge. And then there's the existential question. Does announcing a ban risk political blowback, imperiling Biden's chances for a second term, and giving an edge to Trump in what may be an extremely tight election? Yes. Yes, it does. And I'm glad you guys recognize that too, by the way. The political question seems to be on the top of the mind for the White House, with officials telling reporters that the Washington Post that concerns about announcing the ban during a re-election campaign are the reason for the delay. So they're going to try to politically pussyfoot around and hold it off until after the election. But the problem that they're going to run into is the fact that it's already out there. They know they're going to do it. Biden needs to get the Quidja board and say, "Hey Nancy, how's that just say no effort going?" Yes, of course, Nancy Reagan. The optimistic spin on this poll is Biden can safely announce the ban without losing voters. A pessimist might note that according to this poll, the ban doesn't appear to help him either. This isn't surprising given the high stakes of the 2024 election. Most voters would have bigger concerns about the legality of menthol cigarettes. Now, see, you don't understand. Like, when I smoke, when I break down, it's because there's been a mountain of stress in my life. Usually tied to financial questions, which is a big one coming out of this admin. Alright, we are going to have to go Thursday show, I think. I will decide what we're going to do about tomorrow, because I don't have too many Wednesday chores like I did last week, so I could possibly sweep some of this stuff up yet tonight. I know I got to fold and put blankets away, but I think most of it taken care of over the weekend. So we might still come back and do Final Fantasy X. But before we go over to things I like and things that I hate, I wanted to get to this story. Variety reporting Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, regrets endorsing Biden for president in 2020 because that's what was something that tears me up in my guts, which is division. It caused an incredible amount of division. I realize now, going into the election, I will not do that. My goal is to bring this country together, and I believe in that. There will be no endorsement. At this level of influence, I will keep my politics myself. is between me and the ballot box. But I will tell you this, like a lot of us out there, I'm not trusting of all politicians. I do trust the American people, whoever they vote for. That is my president, and I will support 100%. The Rock is going to run for political office at some point in the near future, by the way, just so you know. We've got the video of it as well, reading from the Daily Wire. The Rock says he's unhappy with the state of America, will not endorse Biden again. From Zach Jewell. Yeah, is The Rock saying that as a face or a heel? After endorsing Biden's run against former President Trump, actor and WWE superstar Dwayne Johnson said he will not throw public support behind the president in the 2024 election. The Rock told Fox and Friends on Friday morning that while he thought endorsing Biden in 2020 was the best decision for me at the time, he's now unhappy with the current state of the U.S. Honestly, he's doing the same thing DeSantis did at this point. And I think it's hilarious. That so many people are mad about this here, but I mean, I think it's hilarious that so many people are mad that he's not fully supporting Biden, but this is the equivalent of what DeSantis did. Lick the finger, put it up in the political wind. That's exactly what this is. Now, endorsing Biden in 2020 was a safe bet because there were so many people that were disillusioned with Trump. Let's listen now.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
The best part of this entire thing was just how many people were that mad at him. For the fact that he did this. We've got a couple more off of this one here, including one from MSDNC complaining about it as well. Let's move on, grab one from Fox News though. The Rock explains why he's not endorsing Biden this time and how he feels about woke culture. From Christine Parks. The Rock sounded off on cancel culture and why he would not be endorsing Biden this election cycle. The actor and former WWE superstar, no, he's back by the way, explained how he values authenticity and finds the current push not to offend others aggravating because it forces people to be dishonest. To be real and to be direct and to be open and to be transparent. That's important to me, he explained to host Will Kane. In today's easy cancel culture world and cancel culture, woke culture, this culture, that culture, division, etc., that really bugs me. Johnson says he's come to learn that being real and honest are more important than worrying about being canceled. You either succumb to be what you think other people want you to be, or you go, no, that's not who I am. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be real. If you ask me something, the real answer is important. A truthful answer is important, and that may get people upset. It may piss people off, but that's okay. But it took me some time to recognize that. The Rock, who identifies as independent, made his first endorsement of a political candidate during the 2020 election, backing Biden. Kane asked if he was happy with that endorsement 4 years later and with the current state of American culture. Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, the answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement I made years ago with Biden was not what I thought was the best decision for me at the time. He said, however, he regretted the division caused by wading into politics, and said he would not be publicly endorsing a candidate this time around. He's running for office, by the way. That's his indicator he's running for office. Because he doesn't want to get the supporters of the people that he would be endorsing against him. Which tells me it's probably going to be an independent run of some sort. I don't know what office or when, but that's my indicator that he's running for office. Mogwai says The Rock is setting up a 2028 run. If he leaves the TKO board in 2026 or 2027, it'll be certain he's running. The Rock is set to give the people's elbow to the ballot box. I hate that will be a real headline. Alright, and that I think is... Oh, that's not. We're going to wrap it up. Because we've got MSNBC hyperbole. From the Readout blog with Joyless Reed. The Rock used Fox News to throw black people under the bus. Jahan Jones reporting. As a longtime fan of The Rock, I've seen the man chokeslammed, stone cold stunned, pedigreed, mandible clawed, and more, and yet he never looked weaker to me than he did the other day on Fox News, which saw him tap dancing and, in a way, turning against some of his biggest fans. Johnson made a bit of news in an interview that aired on Friday on Fox News, in which he announced that he won't be endorsing a presidential candidate, saying he realized that his 2020 endorsement of Biden caused an incredible amount of division in our country. None of us should be surprised about the endorsement stuff. Johnson has long tried to play both sides of the fence when it comes to U.S. politics, and in January he became a board member of TKO Group Holdings, the company that owns WWE and the Ultimate Fighting Championship, two Trump-friendly organizations. But none of us should be surprised by Johnson's dalliance with racial politics either, decrying woke culture, using a black slang term that has been demonized and negatively racialized by white folks. Guys, this is all they have. It's just race stuff because they can't run on the economy, on the issues that help people. They can't run on any of that. Race division and abortion is all that they have. You can't taste hate. That's right. I love that movie too, by the way. That's one of the few movies I've seen. Oh, baby, you can't taste hate. Oh, that might actually be the equivalent of digital blackface that I just did. Oh man, it's time to be canceled. But that's what we have for the news. We'll probably have a short stream later on in the week. Times to be determined. Stay tuned to the Discord and the Twitter for the announcements for that. But for now, we're going to close out with a few things that I like and a few things that I hate. I've actually got a lot of things I liked this week, which is surprising. Typically, it's just like one or two things that I like and like 40 things that I hate. Well, let's see if I can do maybe half and half. Well, I don't know if it's going to be half and half. I think it's going to be half and half. But there's one big one that's going to be like right on the line between things I like and things that I hate. But first, the rules of acquisition. Yeah, see, I got a bunch of stuff on here for this one. Alright, but first, we look at the Ferengi religion. Dual Helix's favorite segment of the show, I've been told. The Ferengi, one of the premier races in the 90s generation of Star Trek, who are shown out to be hyper-capitalistic, have their entire religion and society built around the capitalism that they perform with each other and the rest of the galaxy in their religion. If you follow these 400 rules, you will go to the Divine Treasury at the end of your life and use the credit you have gained from following these rules to bid on a new life. Every week, we look at the rules of acquisition. We look at one of them in depth. how it was used in the show, or the beta canon it's used in, and how we can use it in real life if we can. And see if we can be a good Ferengi and bid on our better lives at the end of our lives. So, we did the 288th rule of acquisition from DS9 Comic and Vector, never get into anything you can't get out of, last Tuesday. Now we are on to the 289th rule of acquisition. It was one that I don't necessarily believe in myself. I mean, you guys see into my home every day, even though it's a little corner. I am fairly Spartan. I only get what's useful to me. I don't do a lot of decorating. I don't do a lot of he who dies with the most toys wins. But it's understandable why that would be in a Ferengi, in their capitalistic sense of things. The 289th rule of acquisition is a man is only worth the sum of his possessions. From the Enterprise introduction of the Ferengi, the first contact with them, in fact, acquisition. Now, when people look at this, I mean, this does go back to the boomer mentality. Sorry for using that word, of course. Of he who dies with the most toys wins. And it's something for me that's just, it's been bothersome to me. Because you leave a lot of stuff laying around that just kind of collects dust, where you could use that to generate profit. Or things like that. Me, again, it's not one that I use in my everyday life, because I tend to keep things on hand that are useful to me and try to release things that are no longer useful to me. But I do understand where people come to that conclusion as well. So that is our 289th rule of acquisition. Take from that one what you will. That one's kind of half and half. That's not full out chaotic evil, but it's not full out chaotic good either. All right, let's do a couple things that I like and a few things that I hate. Saving the majority of it for next week, of course. This past weekend, I watched a hilarious movie that many of you have probably seen. I only saw very shortly after I turned 30 for the first time, and this is the second time I've seen it. Having now watched The Karate Kid since I've seen it, I recognize the fact that Machio is in it, which is not something I recognized the first time because I had not seen The Karate Kid at the first point. That is, of course, the 1992 classic, My Cousin Vinny. So we'll watch the trailer for My Cousin Vinny. I'm going to step away for just a second while we do that, and I'll come back and I'll discuss why I like this movie, why it's hilarious, and some of the problems I did have with it while we were going. But let's watch.
Why did you shoot the clerk?
They got framed for murder.
Whoa! Wait a minute!
Now, two kids from New York are in deep trouble.
It's time to make your phone calls.
The clan's here. They're inbred. They sleep with their sisters.
In the deep south.
Some of them do.
And only one man can save them.
We need to call an attorney, a great attorney.
He's not your typical hero.
We got an attorney in the family. Great, who?
He's
my cousin Vinny.
You stick out like a sore thumb around here.
Oh, yeah, you blend.
You graduated from law school 6 years ago. What have you been doing since?
Studying for the bar.
That's a lot of studying.
What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
Sure. I just actually never seen a grit before.
It's his first case.
Now, didn't I tell you to dress appropriately?
You were serious about that?
The way you handled that judge, oh, you're a smooth talker, you are.
It's their last chance.
The two Utes.
Did you say Utes?
Yeah, two Utes.
What is a Ute?
But with Vinny's style,
I wore this ridiculous thing for you.
And Vinny's girlfriend.
We agreed to get married as soon as you won your first case. My biological clock is ticking like this, and the way this case is going, I ain't never getting married.
They're dead meat.
May I have to treat Ms. Vito as a hostile witness?
You think I'm hostile? Now wait till you see me tonight.
Joe Pesci is My Cousin Vinny.
You two know each other?
Yeah, she's my fiancée.
Well, that would certainly explain the hostility.
You graduated from law school 6 years ago.
So, fantastic movie. There are a couple issues that I did take with that, especially with me being a car guy, knowing how a lot of things work in that, and knowing how robust the modification market was at the time in 1992 when this movie came out. And the crux of the argument was the fact that Billy, played by Macchio's Skylark, was an open differential car, which was pointed out partially in one of the scenes where the two got stuck in the mud. Whereas by the time, especially with 60s cars in the 90s, it was not at all uncommon for someone to go throw a posi into whatever car they were coming out with. Things were not stock at the time. Well, they were, but they didn't necessarily have to be, especially if it was a 64 Skylark. Or I'm sorry, not a 64 Skylark. Was it a Skylark? Yeah, 64 Skylark, because the Tempest was the car that they wound up pinning the actual murderers in for that one. I am glad, though, with that being said, in the midst of that they pointed out the fact that with the car riding up on the curb and still leaving the black marks flat on the ground, the Skylark had a solid rear axle and the Tempest had an independent rear suspension. That did cover up the fact that under some circumstances a Skylark could have a posi rear end, especially in that year. But still a fantastic movie, even with that slight oversight there. But a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing with your life? Because even I've seen it. Mind you, it was 22 years too late, but even I've seen that movie. Come on, go out and watch it. Do a couple other things that I like here. A little bit of fuck around and find out I find slightly entertaining, because some of these people are not doing this because of financial hardship. It's because of full-out refusal to pay. And that is, of course, our friends in Dane County from the Capital Times, trying to paint this in a demonic manner for the evil landlords. Evictions filings in Dane County skyrocket amid housing crunch, from Nicholas Gartone. Oh, we've got live chat here. Herman Munster as the judge is one of my favorite parts. Yeah, that was good. I like that. I didn't realize that's who that was. I was trying to figure out where I knew that guy from. Do your grits boil fast or on your stove faster? Do you have some magical stove? Anyone who's been stuck in the mud in Alabama can attest to. That's correct. All right, let's see what Gartone has to say. Landlords in Dane County filed over 2,400 evictions in 2023, a nearly 50% increase from the prior year, according to a report from tenant advocacy groups and the UW Law School. Eviction levels in Wisconsin overall have exceeded what they were pre-pandemic, the report shows. The number of eviction filings in Wisconsin in 2023 exceeded the number of filings in 2019, said Corey London, an attorney with Legal Action in Wisconsin, a nonprofit that represents people facing evictions. In addition to the UW Law School and Legal Action, the report was compiled by the Tenant Resource Center in Madison and Community Justice Incorporated. The evictions have ramped up. In the same time, the City of Madison staff say the local demand for housing has reached crisis levels. The city notes that 70,000 people are projected to move to Madison over the next 20 years, requiring the construction of about 40,000 new housing units to keep pace. Post-pandemic inflation and rent increases have made it harder for people to keep up with payments and, when they've been evicted, to find anywhere else affordable to live, according to the report's authors. Rents in Madison are rising faster than almost anywhere in the country, London said. As Madison's population increases and rents continue to increase, there's a huge mismatch between the supply and demand for affordable housing. All this is true. One other thing to keep in mind is, if you've got a renter, you're going to want to keep that person. But with, again, a huge demand for Madison, and a lot of people saying housing is a human right and we refuse to pay rent, especially after they got such a big break in 2020. Some of this is just fuck around and find out. And that's the end of it. I don't know what the exact percentage of it, and I know that there is hardship for there, and I feel sorry for the people who have the hardship for it, because rent in Madison is outrageous. I mean, rent in the La Crosse area is outrageous, but it's like 3 times that in Madison. I would never want to try to live in Madison. It's horrifying. Just what you have to pay to keep a roof over your head there. And then if you want to buy property there on top of it, you got to be out of your mind. Now, this is not going to affect the cost of renting. In fact, it's going to make some people more cautious or possibly leave some units empty, making it even harder to do so. But regardless, people have said that they refuse to pay, and some of them are finding out what happens when they do. Now, this next one here will be a good transition into things that I hate, because the initial story is something that I like very much, but the reaction to it is what I hate. So, from the New York Post, rather, not the New York Times. Pastor's daughter leaves OnlyFans career behind after finding Jesus and new boyfriend. From Elba Cuevas Fontoisi and Fox News. Nala Ray, an Illinois-born pastor's child turned OnlyFans model, left the adult industry after a come-to-Jesus moment led her to reconnect with her forgotten faith. The content creator was working as an orthopedic surgery scheduler before a man recruited her for the online site in 2020. But despite her popularity as a top 1% earner on OnlyFans, a subscription-based adult website, Nala had a change of heart. The ones who are glamorizing this lifestyle are men trying to run women's lives and take a percentage out of it. That's horrifying. It's truly horrifying to be a woman and have men take a percentage of you showing your body on the internet. It's just like having a pimp. No, it's not just like having a pimp. It's having a pimp. There's no simile there. That's actually what it is. It's truly horrific that it's being advertised in that manner. But it makes me want to fight all the more to help women understand this is not where you want to go, the influencer said. Hear, hear. She cited that her perspective continued to shift after being baptized. I can't tell you how much my life has changed since then. Everything in my life has just kind of come to this room where I can now observe it and be like, okay, so I don't really want to do this anymore. I knew this wasn't what God wanted me to do with my life, she said. The content creator said her current partner helped propel her towards change. Honestly, it was crazy. He's actually a devout Christian. He started praying over me and sending me Bible verses and just being so loving in a way that wasn't romantic, she continued. OnlyFans has blown up both in its number of creators and consumers since 2020, a reality Nala says is exacerbated by social media. Well, it's also overexpanding the pool and making it harder for more people to get in. It's playing a really bad role for younger people because it's truly putting it on a pedestal to make you think that you can have this amazing life, she added. While the majority of social media content surrounding OnlyFans advertises the potential earnings of its top 1% creators, which generate 33% of the site's total value, the median income for a model on the site averages to only $180 a month. Well, let about 10,000 more people get on that site and see how much further down that goes. Which is what I warned about as more and more people started saying, yes, this is what we're going to do. While her journey forged through a reconnection with Christ changed the young adult's trajectory, the OnlyFans model's website still remains with a single post, no matter, she says, is due to a delay in tax documentation. So she has a semi-legitimate reason for leaving the site up right now. And all of this I like. I cannot say that I would most likely date long term a current or former OnlyFans model. The former part I would actually have to think about a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Current I couldn't do. I cannot go out with somebody who believes that the only value that she has is her body. That I would have a hard time with otherwise. But as far as her Christian faith, I believe that, and I believe that she's got a long talk to have with God to see if she can be forgiven, and it's between her and God. It's not between her and anybody else in the world, and that's why I lead this into things that I hate as well. Because the modern day Pharisees don't seem to see it that way. So, the video came out with an interview with Knowles, who was pointing out the fact that $9 million on OnlyFans and God Saved Me, Michael and Nella Ray, which I have not listened to this entirety. I like Michael Knowles, but I have a stance against using Daily Wire content. Yes, I know that there's a bunch of that up here right now, but I have a stance against especially listening to their shows. Some of that's shifting because of the Candace Owens things, but I always did like Knowles. It's just you're competing for content, and I would try to move away from political. Kind of after I felt betrayed by Shapiro, because I was legitimately listening to news 24/7, 365 constantly for a couple years, and it burned me out. Now I prefer to listen to documentaries about the Exodus and historical markers that point to the Exodus and things that prove that it's true. But I'm going to sit down and listen to this entire episode because I'm very interested in what it is she has to say and what she has to say with Knowles. But the reason I brought the clip up, of course, is because it's what Loomer quote tweeted out and says, "These OnlyFans girls can pray away their slutty behavior all they want. They'll never be respectable no matter how much they cry to God." This is another thing where I push to the idea of these people are trying to lose in November so they can grift off being the underdog. Praying to be a respectable person doesn't work once you do sex work. It's best that we shun these women from society forever. Neo, Controlled Neo, says the same thing. Christians believe that this woman can truly be saved. Which, if you know your Bible, is reality. Yes, this woman can be saved. The naivety of conservative Christians is driving more people towards atheism and Islam. The same naivety is making your society crumble. Accept everything and you'll fall for anything. She can be saved. Now, and I get a lot of people too, like Ian Miles Chong was another one. What did she do with the $9 million she made on OnlyFans? Unless she gives it to Christian charity, I don't see how she's changed. I do. Because she's not going to have that easy money for the rest of her life. Now, that $9 million is going to take her a long way. I don't begrudge Ian Michaels Chong that statement. But that's not going to last forever. She's going to have to figure out something else to do with her life. $9 million doesn't go far, especially in Biden-inflated dollars. And I saw a whole host of other people saying this woman doesn't deserve to be saved. She doesn't deserve God's glory or forgiveness or anything else, to which I counter. Yeah, neither do the rest of us. That is the reason that Christ had to go. And the fact that this came out right after Easter, and people are still saying this, blows my mind even more. Yes, that is why our Lord and Savior had to go to the cross on Calvary and get beaten and mocked by Roman soldiers and put up on the cross in both a humiliating and torturous way of death to buy our salvation. Because we don't deserve to be saved. We don't deserve God's forgiveness. But it's given through grace anyway. And these modern day Pharisees like Loomer and Neo and Ian Miles Chong would do well to remember that. Let's do a couple more things that I hate. See, this is all the stuff I like. Let's do this Biden one here. Greek, Jewish, Puerto Rican, Biden has history of claiming to be honorary member of numerous ethnic groups. Now, mind you, when George Santos did it, he got removed from his seat and voted out of Congress. When Biden does it, it's A-OK. Aces in my book. Kyle Morris reporting for Fox News. Biden has a long history of attempting to tie himself to a variety of ethnic groups and cultures. Biden reminded guests of the White House for a Greek Independence Day celebration this week of his claim that he inherited the nickname Bidenopolis in his home state of Delaware. Attributing his early political success to the Greek community, Biden once said one of the things he learned early on was that I had a very close relationship with the Greek American community, for real. In the heart, and I mean real, in the church there as well. Biden said he believed that every Greek American in Delaware voted for him during his 1972 campaign for the Senate. By the way, some of the Delawareans will tell you that's where I acquired the nickname I'm very proud of. I'm Joe Bidenopolis. That's the nickname I got, man. You know, it's just a step away from him saying that he's an honorary Jew or honorary black. Which I have been named the latter of the two. But I don't even use that in everyday parlance. Because I am me and I can't be defined by the color of my skin. In September 2022, during a reception at the White House to celebrate the Jewish New Year, Biden told a group of Jewish Americans at Rosh Hashanah that he went to shul more than them. Shul is the Yiddish word for synagogue. I'm a practicing Catholic, man, but I go to services on Saturday and Sunday. Biden then reaffirmed he was not kidding about the statement. He also claimed that he has been raised by the Puerto Rican community. And once again, I remind you that George Santos was removed from Congress for this exact behavior. But, hey, I guess Biden, it's just A-OK when he does that. Let's do two more, and then we'll head out of here for the day. From the New York Post, a terrifying video shows engine in Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 ripping apart during takeoff. From Chris Nessie. Passengers on a Houston-bound Southwest Airlines flight watched in horror on Sunday as an engine on the Boeing 737-800 appeared to come apart mid-flight. The flight immediately returned to Denver after crew members noticed a removable sheet of metal covering one of the plane's engines had sheared off during takeoff. In a terrifying video posted on X by ABC's chief transportation reporter Sam Sweeney, the metal engine cover can be seen whipping in the breeze like paper as it tore loose. Yeah, that fills me with a lot of confidence. There's a reason if I go to Zion National Park that I'm not going to fucking fly. So, now I question why, and I mean, we're seeing this left and right. We're seeing this constantly, and I don't remember ever hearing stories about this prior to this year. I don't know if they happened or not, but a lot of this is being publicized, and I think that part of this is You've got to reduce your carbon footprint. You can't fly anymore. Flying is just for the elite. You'll have to drive everywhere, but keep in mind, we can control when you drive because your GPS in your EV will let us come back down and shut off your service if we don't like the thing that you have to say. Just the problem that's happening though. Now, this happened on the ground, so it littered the runway, and the runway crews came back and got it, but there's also the absolute danger issue of what happens with something like this. If that happens at 40,000 feet in the air. Mogwai says, if it's good enough for a 93 Cavalier, it's good enough for Southwest, apparently. And Southwest, by the way, is the only airliner I've ever flown before. I'd never gone Delta before. I was partially pricing out some flights to go to Utah and just see how much easier it would be, how much better it would be. But then I came back and realized that no, I think I'm going to drive. Thank you. I think that's going to be a better way to do things, is to just drive where I want to go. And the last one for the day, we'll save the rest here for later on in the week. From the Hill, the DOJ seeks prison time for woman who stole Ashley Biden's diary. Which, by the way, is the biggest admission of the fact that it's true. I don't have to go too far into this one just to point out the fact that if you're getting arrested for disseminating information that's real, because this wasn't stolen. This was bought legally from what I understand. The DOJ is seeking prison time for Amy Harris, the woman who stole the diary of the president's daughter and sold it to a conservative media site at Project Veritas for tens of thousands of dollars. According to the DOJ, Harris was temporarily staying at the Delray Beach, Florida residence of Ashley Biden when she stole the diary containing highly personal entries, as well as tax records, a cell phone, and family photographs. Harris enlisted the defendant, Robert Kurlander, to assist her in selling the collected material. I was always of the understanding it was freely given. I would need to see some details out of the case, but there are a couple different things that go along with this as well. First off, I was told that everything that's in this diary is 100% Russian disinformation and not real. So what does it matter if it's stolen or not? It's a narrative. It's a story. It's not real. At this point, it's confirmed to be real because they're seeking prosecution and prison time for it. But this also seems like a very, very big attempt to come back down and shut up political dissidents, especially if they find documents that point to one thing or the other. So I hope Harris does well. I hope that she doesn't see too much prison time over something like this. There is an issue, again, if there are tax records or things or anything else that's in the diary, but once again, a reminder that you've been told from the point that this story came out in live that everything in the diary was a lie. It was fabricated by Harris, and it was Russian disinformation. So, that is what they have for that. And I am going to take off for the night. We're going to finish up with that. I'll clean up a couple of the other things that I have here for the night, and we will come back. We'll do some Final Fantasy X tomorrow night. I want to get it done, especially now that we've confirmed what the next game is going to be. One that I'm very excited for, by the way. I promised we were going to finish, and we're going to finish. So come and join me here tomorrow night at 7 for probably the penultimate episode of Final Fantasy X. It's either going to be 2 or 3 more episodes. I don't know how many it's going to be. But come back and join me here for that tomorrow night. It's going to be a fantastic time. And our makeup stream will be determined in the near future. Probably going to be Thursday. It might be Saturday, but it'll probably be Thursday. I will look at what we have, what news comes up, and what they try to shove in at the end of the week. I might run it out to Saturday. I don't know. Let's throw the outro music up. Let's go. Let's head out of here. We must be past the 2-hour mark. I'm starting to trip over my own words anyway. Come on, man! I trip over my words after 2 hours like Biden does it after 20 minutes. Where's my open with? God damn it. There it is. Whew. I think I have way too many tabs open because it looks like we're having some distortion coming on my computer. I don't know what's going on with that. But we'll figure that out off the air. We'll be back here tomorrow night for more Final Fantasy X. We'll be wrapping up the last little bits of that game. We'll see what goes on with that and how far we can get. And come and join me later on in the week as we conclude our episode of Contemporary. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you guys for that and the chat that comes with that. I know that we're going to be talking about Fetterman, which will be an interesting one. We'll be talking about California, doing California things to their own economy, and some foreign news as well, because that always gets pushed to the back burner. Israel and Ukraine in focus again. Looking forward to seeing you guys here for that. Take care. Have a fantastic night. And enjoy what's left of the night here. We'll see you back here for more. And until that time, take care. Hug your family. Get some sleep. Get some rest. We will see you here next time for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.